to launch off day 2, we have another of our directors, and he's going to talk to you about guided feedback. So please welcome to the stage hiking enthusiast, our technical director, and the man with the plan, James Leckie.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thanks Matt. It's great MC work Matt's been doing for the event. I'm really proud of him. So today I'm going to be talking about feedback. In fact, we're going to do some feedback, but I just wanted to reflect quickly before I get started on what feedback is. And I heard Tim Barlow, who's sitting down the front here, talking yesterday about continuous reporting and how important feedback was in learning. And really for us, the feedback that you provide to us is really our way of learning as well. So it's really important to us to learn from you about how we can make the product better, what the product is doing for you, what it means to you. And that really summarizes what this event for us is about. It's about having those conversations. It's about getting feedback. It's about listening to your presentations and how you're using the product. And so that's just as much of a learning experience for us as staff at Alaris as for you to come here and see what other schools are doing. And I think that's a really important part of this whole event that we have on today. So today I'm going to be going through, and I'm just going to keep my notes in sync, I'm going to be going through how we gather feedback internally on a day-to-day basis, how we actually look at the information you provide, not just at this event, but every day at Alaris we're gathering feedback from you and getting information on what's happening with the system. I'm going to tell you how we then process that feedback, how we work out what feedback we're going to actually work on. Some of you will often reflect and say, well, James never listens to what I say. So I'm going to give you a bit of an understanding about how we actually listen and what we do with that information that we hear. And then finally, we're going to wrap up and I'm going to actually get you all to provide me some feedback online. So let's start with our first way of getting feedback. So I'll skip over that. So firstly, the support desk. For many of you, your main point of call and interaction with us is our support desk. It's the team that sits up the front. You've probably seen them today. They've moved their desk right up to the front. They're up there. They're our first point of call. Now, when you make a login issue or report a bug, that goes into that system and we track that through all the way from being reported into our bug tracking system called Jira. We then log that with a ticket number. You would have seen things like SA-24663. That is the bug tracking number. You'll then see that again coming out on our release notes. And so every time you report an issue, it goes all the way through and we then get back to you and say, we've now released this, we close the loop, we say, we've now logged this and released it. So you've giving us that report, goes all the way through to actually being fixed and being resolved all the way through from the support desk. The other thing that we use the support desk for is to identify common user issues. So one of the things that we get a lot is, undeletes. How do I do this? Why can't I do that? Those types of inquiries on the support desk, we then collate into meta information about what areas people are struggling with. We use that then to inform our next development strategy. If we don't want you to be struggling with the system, we don't want you to be calling up the help desk, believe it or not. We want to be working on the software, not dealing with how do I do this. And so that is an opportunity for us to then look at that and say, we can improve the software. We can take those 50 support requests and turn that into a successful change in the software that will remove that need to ever contact the support desk in the first place. So we've been doing that a lot for the last few years, and I think we do that quite successfully. In fact, we're actually seeing a reduction in the amount of support tickets over time. Even though we've grown in the number of customers, we've actually almost doubled in size. We're actually seeing our support tickets go down. And I think that's a testament to that. We're listening to what you're logging through there, and we're integrating that into the system and trying to minimize those requests. Let's look at the next area where we work in. So professional services. From Schoolbox's perspective, we offer a range of different professional services that you can engage with us through us. We have custom development, we have training, we have implementation, support and consulting. So there's all these different services that we offer, and we have experts on site in our team that can go out to your school and work with your school to improve things or inform or train and conduct those activities. But those services aren't just about helping you, they're actually also helping us. When we send someone out there, they go out there and they learn something about our customers, and they come back to the office more informed about the challenges that you face in your environment, and then they bring that feedback back to the development team, and that gets fed back into our development priorities as well. Sometimes we have a staff member go, I saw this out at the school and it would really help if we just change this button to do this instead. Really simple. But we wouldn't know that unless we had people out in your schools, working with your schools and understanding your schools. Custom development as well. Sometimes we're building custom features for schools, and we've worked with many of you over the years to build unique and interesting features, and often these eventually become core functionality. We're doing that because we're exploring ideas with a customer. So a customer comes to us and says, I'd really like to be able to do this. We're like, yeah, sure, that's not really something that everyone wants to do just now, but we're interested in it, so we'll work with you on that. And we work through that, and over time we realize, well, this is a great idea and lots of other schools want to use this as well. And then we rotate that into the core of the product and provide it to all. So custom development also provides a way for us to learn more and get more feedback from you in a much closer relationship about where the product should go in the future. Next up, the help forums. So our help forums, we launched them probably about 2 or 3 years ago. They've now evolved to a much more sophisticated system. One of the great new features that we've built in there is the starring system. So with our forums, it's a place where you can go in and suggest your ideas, what you think Schoolbox should do in the future. And we watch this closely, we track it. Every time we're going to go and build some new functionality, we've got some resources available to build something, we're going into that forum and we're looking at how many stars something has. We're reading the discussion that happened in that topic area to understand everyone's different perspectives. It gives us so much insight when there's been a thread of 50 posts from 20 different schools discussing an idea and throwing out how they see how it should work. When we come to build that, we get so much more wealth of information from that process. So I do really encourage everyone to participate in the forums. It gives us that great level of feedback. Sometimes it's not immediately reacted to, but when it does build up enough support around everyone, we come to it and we have a look at it, and that's when we actually act on that. Next up. So how do we actually come to deciding what will be done and what won't be done? So obviously in our team we have fairly limited resources. We don't have unlimited development resources. We only have a small team, and we like to keep a small team. We believe that you build the best software when you're a small, tight-knit unit, and so we want to keep that small unit working. But that means we need to prioritize what work we work on, when we work on it, how we choose what we work on, and that's a complicated process. And I guess this matrix up here demonstrates, how we sort of balance against effort and value and the things that we want to build. The things that we really want to build are the things that give it the absolute maximum value to you and require the least amount of effort from us, because that means we can deliver more value quickly, faster, without investing huge amounts of time for something that might take months and months to deliver. So when we look and develop the roadmap, we're looking to capture what it is that we can deliver in the shortest amount of time and add the most amount of value to you. Let's talk about value next, because understanding the value of what we build is really important, and sometimes people misunderstand how value is actually, gathered. And so I want to quickly discuss how we work out what's valuable and what's not valuable. Firstly, customer value. So when we look at customer value, we're looking at how many customers would this benefit. And that's a really simple one for us to measure. We can just go and look in the forums and see how many people have mentioned that idea. We can go and talk to our customers, and we can survey our customers and ask them how many people would want this feature. So customer value is actually quite simple. But that's not the only metric that we use. There's two other metrics. Strategic value. So from a strategic value perspective, what do we need to build this? Strategic value is sort of intrinsic in the development process. A few of the sort of common things that are included in strategic value are quality, uptime, usability, responsiveness, all of these things that you expect to be in a system like Schoolbox, they're strategic for us. We need to have a system that you can rely on, that you can be ensured that it's of high quality. And so that for us is strategic value. And that drives things like refactoring code, throwing out old code that's outdated, re-optimizing something that's perhaps running a bit slow. It may not add any specific value, but it's something that intrinsically needs to be done, and we need to invest a lot of time in that. And from those people who've seen my previous presentations, I used to talk about the iceberg. From our perspective, the tip of the iceberg is those little features that you see at the end of the day, but the big stuff underneath the water, it's all that stuff that goes into making sure the platform's stable, reliable, and so we have to prioritize that work as well. So that has to have value in the system. Now, the last thing that we also look at when we're analysing value is new customers. So sometimes we have to build new features to move into new markets, to acquire new customers, and this is important for us to continue to grow, add new members to our team here, our community. So it's important for us to actually think strategically and about what things we can add to open up new markets. That might be things like building a feature specifically for IB, or integrating a state curriculum system. Those things that not necessarily lots of customers want, but they will make sure that more customers come on board because that feature is there in the future. So how do we do this internally? Basically what we've done traditionally is we have a sort of an open democracy when it comes to these features, and the way we structure it is we actually put hats on and we pretend to be different roles in these particular value points. So one person in the company will put on the customer hat. Well, actually it's normally a few people. They put on the customer hat. One person puts on the sales hat. Another person puts on the strategic hat. That's normally a developer. Developer normally says we need to rebuild this part of the system. And we get all of those people together into a room, and they basically vote on things that they think are the highest priority for their particular perspective. And that's how we determine what features go in. So a customer is always voting for the highest value for the customer. So their position is to look into all the forum posts and understand which things you as customers want. The developers are looking at the code and saying which parts of the code need the most work, what needs to be fixed up. So that's how we divide up the effort and work that we do for each release. And so that's the approach that we take to deciding on that roadmap. When we deliver the roadmap, we use an iterative approach. So we're always constantly evolving and iterating over and over again. Now, what that means is that the first release is never really complete. First time we actually release something, it's actually really just an early stage beta. We just want to do that because that's how we learn. That's how we get your feedback. By giving you the piece of software that we just built as quickly as possible, we're not investing a lot of time building something that you don't want. So sometimes it feels like we're delivering you unfinished software. It feels like we've just gone, here's something, real basic, use it. But that's not our intention. Our intention is always to come back and iterate and to listen to your feedback and get your support behind a feature. And if you love it and if you really think it's a great feature but it could be improved with this little change, we'll come back and iterate on that. We'll come back and keep improving it. So that's our approach to consistently improving the product. So it's not just build it once and leave it. It is something that always gets improved. A great example of that was the pastoral system. We launched the pastoral system back mid last year, and it went out for one release, and overwhelmingly the feedback came back that we needed a way to control visibility in groups. Wasn't on our roadmap originally, wasn't a feature that we'd even thought about, In fact, we had a whole lot of other features that were on the roadmap for Pastoral that we thought you wanted. But when we actually delivered it out to you and you started using that piece of software, the overwhelming feature that you wanted was group visibility. So we dropped everything else that we had on our roadmap and we put group visibility up front and we delivered that in the next release. So that's how that iterative process works. It's about getting that feedback, getting you to use the software, understand how it works within your school, and giving us that feedback so that we can improve the product. Okay, so one last thing, I don't have a slide for this, but just one last point that I'm going to mention about feedback. So we've identified internally that there's a bit of a missing gap for us in the amount of data that we have available to make effective decisions. And that is usage within your system. So in the next release, 17.5, we are actually going to add in an opt-in checkbox that you can opt in to allow us to track your usage data. What this is going to allow us to do is look at what features you're using, how you're using them, what functions you find valuable, you use in your organisation, and so that we can then start to inform our process and our roadmap decisions based on that real-time data we're gathering from your system. So I do encourage everyone, we will be sending out more information about that, but I did want to take the opportunity just now to encourage everyone to opt in to us capturing some usage data. It will all be anonymised, of course. We won't know who's using the system, but we just want to capture a bit more data about how you're using the system. So there'll be more information coming out in 17.5, but I do wanted to note, when I'm talking about feedback, usage data will be really valuable in that feedback process as well. Okay, now because we've got that missing piece of data, we don't actually really know what you value in terms of the features and functions of Schoolbox. So I'm going to take some time now to get you all to fill in a quick survey and give us some feedback on what features you find that are important for your school. I've got the major features there. It's not long, it's only like the 10 major features or something like that. And also tell me a bit about how useful that feature is to you, how much functionality it has, whether it needs more work, whether we need to put more attention into it. So it's basically two matrices for us. It will be the how much you use it and how good you find it. And that'll be for the 10 features in there. So if you could go to that on your mobile phone, on your laptop, and just quickly fill out that survey, that would be great. And that about wraps it up for me. I'm going to leave you now to spend 5 or 10 minutes filling out that survey for me, and then I think we're going to hand over to morning tea, I think, after this. All good? Excellent. Okay, so thank you very much. I'll be mingling out there for morning tea. Thank you.